In this lesson, we're going to learn about accessibility testing. Now, accessibility testing sometimes is referred as A11y testing. Keep in mind that's an 11, it's not two L's. Sometimes people read it as LI testing. The reason it's 11 is because somebody counted that there are 11 letters between the A and the Y. Okay, so that's the shortcut that they created. And A11y is a type of software testing that ensures a product like a website, app, or software is usable by people of all abilities, including those with disabilities. By disabilities, I mean could be visual disabilities like color blindness, low vision, full total blindness, cognitive or learning disabilities like ADHD, dyslexia, autism, things like that. So the goal is to make sure that the product meets accessibility standards like WCAG or Section 508 and provides an inclusive user experience for everyone. So what is WCAG and 508? Whenever you hear about accessibility, you're going to hear these terms. So WCAG is Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. It is the international standard developed by the W3C, World Wide Web Consortium. It defines how to make web content more accessible to people with disabilities. It's organized around 4 principles. Those are called the POUR principles. P for perceivable, O operable, U understandable, and R stands for robust. It comes in versions like WCAG 2.0, 2.1, 2.2, and they're currently working on 3.0 right now. So there's also levels like A, AA, and AAA for increasing conformance. Now the A, AA, and AAA, what does that mean? Those are like level A is the minimum standard, the basic accessibility, while level AA is the widely accepted standard that addresses most of the accessibility barriers. This is the one that's the most common. For example, Fortune 500 companies will usually ask you to test level AA. And then level AAA or AAA, this is the most rigorous level. This aims for the highest possible accessibility and accommodates a wider range of users. Now Section 508, this is the U.S. federal law requiring electronic and IT systems developed by the government to be accessible to people with disabilities. This is based on the WCAG guidelines, but it applies specifically to federal agencies and contractors. So basically, Section 508 is the law that requires you to test WCAG 2.0 AA as its baseline. So it's not a different set of rules. Okay, so usually organizations that comply with WCAG 2.1 or 2.2 or higher, or are AA or AAA, they already meet Section 508 requirements. I hope that makes sense. Now, getting familiar with accessibility terms. ARIA, Accessible Rich Internet Applications. You're going to see this a lot when you're applying for an accessibility job. This is a set of attributes added to the HTML to make dynamic content more accessible. Screen Reader. This is a tool that reads out the content out loud on a screen for users with visual impairments. Examples are JAWS, NVDA, VoiceOver, TalkBack. Keyboard navigation. This refers to navigating a website or app using only the keyboard. So pressing Tab, Shift Tab, Enter Space. Basically, you unplug your mouse and you see if you can navigate the page. Alt text or alternative text. This describes the image for screen readers. For example, people that use JAWS, NVDA, or VoiceOver, when they get to an image that has no description, that VoiceOver will just say image 1234.jpg or something like that. So alt text is very important because all the images need to have a description. Contrast ratio. This measures the difference in brightness between text and background. Because trust me, if the website does not meet minimum color contrast, colorblind people will fail to use your website and they'll have a lot of trouble using your website. Cognitive accessibility. This focuses on making content easier to understand for users with learning or cognitive disabilities, like I said before, dyslexia or ADHD. In fact, my son has both of these. If it wasn't for his little reader that when he reads homework, it reads out loud and it highlights the line that it's actually reading, he wouldn't get through any of his homework done. So I'm very glad that his school actually passed the accessibility testing. Assistive technology, or AT. These are tools or software that help people with disabilities use digital content. It includes screen readers, speech input software, magnifiers, and some more. Now, semantic HTML. This uses HTML elements according to their intended purpose, like using button for a button, not a styled div. This helps the screen readers and the other assistive technology understand the page structure. Now let's go to our tools. Here are the tools and scanners that are mostly used in accessibility. So the scanners are automated tools that check your website or app for common accessibility issues. They help quickly identify problems, but they don't catch everything, so they should always be paired with manual testing. Now I'll tell you, I've been doing accessibility testing for over 6 years, and it always goes with manual testing. You cannot just use these scanners and not do manual testing, because you will miss tons of defects. So some of the popular accessibility scanners are Axe DevTools. This is the one I've used at my last 2 jobs, so it's very popular. This is a powerful tool by DEC. It scans web pages for accessibility issues directly in your browser, either Chrome or Firefox, or via the command line, and it is great for both manual testers and devs to use. We have Lighthouse. This is built into the Chrome DevTools. This is also an automated tool built into Chrome that audits web pages for performance, SEO, and accessibility. It offers quick accessibility scores and improvement tips. Wave, this stands for Web Accessibility Evaluation Tool. This is a browser extension or web service by WebAIM that visually highlights accessibility issues directly on your page, like missing alt text or heading structure problems, things like that. Accessibility Insights by Microsoft. This is a free tool set from Microsoft. It offers fast automated checks and guided manual tests, and it ensures WCAG compliance. This is available as a browser extension and the Windows app. Site Improve. This is a comprehensive digital optimization platform with accessibility scanning, analytics, and quality assurance. So it's often used by larger teams and enterprises. DEC Worldspace, which is now part of DECX Monitor. This is an enterprise-grade accessibility management platform for teams. It offers automated testing, monitoring, and compliance tracking across large digital ecosystems. So some of these can be used for automation and manual testing. But here are some that are specifically good for automation. For example, Xcore. This is the engine behind Axe DevTools. Okay, it integrates easily with JavaScript testing and frameworks like Jest and Cypress and Selenium. It's open source, it's fast, it's reliable, and it's WCAG compliant. So basically, instead of going through all these, the way you use it is as an add-on to another automation tool. For example, like Playwright plus Xcore. You use Playwright for the browser automation, and you use Xcore for the scanning part. So these are some of the tools that you should get familiar with if you're going to do accessibility testing. Now, before we go into our next slide, let me show you some of the resources used for accessibility testing. For example, this page is called webaim.org. This one's very useful. This has all the guidelines, the WCAG guidelines listed here. And there's a lot, so we're not going to go through all of these because, like I said, for every type of testing, you have to take that specific course. So if you get into accessibility testing, you have to learn these by heart or be very familiar with them. These are all the WCAG requirements, and it'll say right here whether it's AAA or whether it's just A. And based on your company that you're working for or the requirements that they want, then you have to make sure if it's AAA, it has to meet all the requirements, right? AA and 1A. But if it's just A, it wants you to meet just A requirements, then you don't have to really test A or AAA. Or if you do, and if it fails, they might not do anything about it, basically. I mean, it's always nice to mention the defects anyway, but they're not required to fix it. But yeah, these are all the WCAG requirements. You can see if there's video, does it pause, stop, hide? Is there timers, timeouts, error messages? It basically checks for everything that should be accessible. Now let's get into some of the keystrokes. What do I mean by keystrokes? These are keyboard shortcuts that you need to learn, not by heart. I usually had a printed sheet depending on which one I'm using. For example, this is the JAWS keystrokes. You don't just tab, 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 or navigate by using the arrows. You have to learn how to navigate as the users would. For example, go back a page, you press Alt plus left arrow plus backspace. Open a link, enter list links, insert plus F7, things like that. So this is a PDF I have. I'll add it in the resources because I had this saved. I don't even remember where I got it from. freedomscientific.com, that's probably where I got it from. But for example, NVDA has its own cheat sheet and Mac has its own. Actually, I'll give you a quick example. I'm on a Mac right now. If you push the power button 3 times, it'll activate the accessibility menu.
Accessibility shortcuts.
And in that menu, you can select
Use
VoiceOver.
the tab key to navigate and press space to toggle an option. Checked.
So I checked VoiceOver, and when that's on, it'll start reading anything that I make it read. For example, if I push it here and I press enter.
VoiceOver on application. Keystrokes.pdf. Google Chrome. Jennifer window. Has keyboard focus. You are currently on a group inside of a frame. To exit this web area, press Control. VoiceOver off.
Okay, I'm turning it off. But basically, that's how you use it. And that is just the Mac one. And Mac has its own cheat sheet as well, where you can see all these keystrokes and shortcuts that you have to learn with it. Another resource is section508.gov. If you're going to work for the State Department, Veteran Affairs, anything government related, then you need to be familiar with the 508 requirements. And this is a pretty good website to check. Here on the left side, you see the menu, Training Videos Library. They have the accessibility requirements and tools. They have some documents. Andy is a accessible name and description inspector. It's basically a tool. It's a module you install to do 508 testing.
And validate it is programmatically defined. To start, open a web page and launch Andy.
Yeah, see, so he has it installed already. But those are pretty great helpers to help you scan a page and go through and make sure it meets all the requirements. Now this is another page that's pretty good. It's the w3.org. This also helps you get familiar with all the WCAG requirements. There's some links in here that help you out. It's just all about accessibility. If you check like accessibility fundamentals, it's a pretty neat guide if you're just getting into accessibility and you want to get familiar with the terms and how to test and what to look for. Now in this page, the IAAP, International Association of Accessibility Professionals, the website is accessibilityassociation.org. This is where you come if you want to get certified. They actually have quite a few certifications for accessibility. CPAC is the most common one. WAS, Web Accessibility Specialist, is also pretty common. These two I haven't really heard of. Like when you look for jobs and they want an accessibility tester, usually they say CPAC or WAS preferred. Okay, so I'll put the links in the certifications lesson when we go over that. Now here is your path to accessibility testing. These are the main things you gotta learn. Definitely functional testing. You gotta be a tester that basically specializes in accessibility. You gotta be familiar with your WCAG 2.0, 2.1, 2.2, coming soon 3.0. With your standards, whether it's A, AA, or AAA. Section 508, this is for federal or government agencies. Your core principles, your area roles and attributes, and semantic HTML. Now that is your foundational knowledge, basically. What is accessibility, why it matters, what are the different types of disabilities. You have to be familiar with your software testing tools. Again, Jira, Bugzilla, Testro, because these are common for all types of testing. That's where you'll be putting your defects into. Standards and guidelines, again, these are over here in the bullets. Assistive devices like screen readers, magnifiers, voice control, switch devices. There is some hardware that sometimes you need to test. Next, you have your accessibility scanners like Axe, Wave, Lighthouse. Those are browser extensions. You know, Pally, they pronounce like Ally like it's L's, but it's also 11s like A11y, but nobody says PA11y, so they call it Pally. 10 on-site improve, Deck, Worldspace, accessibility scanner for mobile, XDev tools for mobile. Get familiar with your keyboard only navigation testing. So like we went over the keyboard shortcuts for JAWS, NVDA, and Mac TalkBack keystrokes. Get familiar with some of the automated tools like Xcore, which uses JavaScript, Pally, Cypress plus X for integration, Lighthouse CI. This is the CI version of Lighthouse from Chrome. It uses automated performance and accessibility testing during the builds and the deploys. It's pretty cool. It works well with GitHub and other CI tools. Cypress plus Xcore, or Playwright plus Xcore, or Selenium plus Xcore. So these are automated accessibility checks that are very good for your functional end-to-end test. And don't forget to always stay updated. Follow the organizations like W3C, WebAIM, Deck. You have to stay up to date with the new WCAG versions because, like I said, 3.0 is coming out soon, and that might have some new test cases that come along with it that you have to create. So I hope this was a good quick intro into accessibility testing. If you get into accessibility testing, there are plenty of courses out there to take. And I gotta tell you, since this is the actual type of testing that I do, it's the most rewarding type of testing because you're actually helping people that otherwise would not be able to use a website or that would get very frustrated if it's not accessible. So good luck on your journey and let me know if you have any questions.